If you can't cooperate with us, leave us alone, please. If you don't want us to work together, leave us alone. Those who say they will not give us their money, yes, it is your money. Give it to whoever you want. Take it away and give it to whoever you want.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's top international headline. In a bold and unapologetic statement that has captured the attention of global leaders, Rwandan President Paul Kagame has delivered a powerful message to US President Donald Trump, and the message is clear: hands off Africa. Speaking during a regional summit on African sovereignty and global partnerships, President Kagame expressed growing concern over what he described as external interference that undermines African progress, dignity, and independence. While not mincing words, Kagame directly addressed past comments and actions from Donald Trump that many African leaders have called disrespectful and exploitative. Kagame stated, "Africa is not a playground for foreign experiments or a dumping ground for failed policies. We are a continent of rising potential, not a target for manipulation." The Rwandan president emphasized that the new generation of African leadership is no longer willing to tolerate political bullying, economic blackmail, or neo-colonial narratives, regardless of where they come from. Kagame's remarks were met with applause across the African Union and have sparked renewed conversations about Africa's right to choose its own destiny, free from foreign pressure. As more African nations push for economic independence, stronger regional alliances, and self-determined partnerships, Kagame's message stands as a strong symbol of a continental shift toward pride, unity, and resistance against outdated foreign agendas. One thing is certain: the world is watching, and Africa is speaking louder than ever.
Welcome to Talk of Africa 360, your source for insightful news, analysis, and thoughtful commentary. If you value informed perspectives and fact-based reporting, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is based on reliable public sources and credible online information. It is intended strictly for educational and analytical purposes. We do not promote or endorse political violence, hate speech, or any form of discrimination. Our goal is to inform, not to inflame. Thanks for being here. Let's stay informed together.
In the turbulent world of international diplomacy, where alliances shift and power dynamics constantly evolve, a clear and resounding message has emerged from the African continent. It's a message that speaks of self-determination, respect, and the unwavering pursuit of sovereignty. Rwandan President Paul Kagame, a figure of considerable influence on the African stage, known globally for his pivotal role in his nation's remarkable post-genocide recovery and its subsequent economic and social progress, has recently issued a pointed and unambiguous warning directed towards former US President Donald Trump: respect Africa's sovereignty. This is not a request but a firm declaration. This powerful message follows a period of intense US-led diplomatic engagement, particularly in regions critical to African stability and development. Specifically, the Great Lakes region has been a focal point, a region rife with both opportunity and complex challenges. Kagame's statement reflects a growing and increasingly vocal African demand for self-determination, a desire to chart its own course on the global stage. Kagame's words serve as a crucial reminder to the world at large that while foreign assistance and international collaboration are undoubtedly welcome and often necessary, Africa's destiny, its future, and its path forward must ultimately be shaped by Africans themselves, guided by their own vision and priorities. It's important to acknowledge that the Trump administration did play a role in brokering a significant peace agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, a move aimed at fostering stability in the region. However, this very involvement reignited long-standing debates and concerns about the potential for undue foreign influence in African affairs. Kagame's statement should not be interpreted as a wholesale rejection of international partnership or collaboration, but rather as a firm and unwavering assertion of a fundamental principle that Africa is not only capable but also ready and determined to define its own problems and, more importantly, to devise and implement its own solutions. His message arrives at a crucial juncture as global power dynamics undergo a significant shift, with Africa being increasingly recognized and viewed as a land brimming with immense opportunity and potential for growth. Kagame's timely warning directly challenges the United States and other global actors to fundamentally reassess their approach and to treat African nations as genuinely equal partners, rather than as junior players or mere recipients of aid. As we delve deeper into the intricacies of the US-brokered peace deal and carefully analyze its broader political and diplomatic implications, Kagame's powerful words will undoubtedly serve as a guiding principle for us, marking a pivotal and potentially transformative moment in the evolving landscape of US-Africa relations. This warning is not just intended for one particular president or administration, but rather as a clear and unequivocal statement directed to the entire world. Africa is proud of its heritage, immensely capable of managing its own affairs, and unequivocally sovereign in its right to determine its own future. Central Africa saw a major diplomatic breakthrough under the Trump administration. After intense mediation, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo signed a US-brokered peace agreement, aiming to end years of conflict and suffering. The Washington Accord, formalized in DC, was orchestrated by Trump's team, signaling high-level American commitment. Trump made it clear any violation would bring severe penalties, adding American enforcement to the pact. The deal's core goal was more than peace. It aimed to unlock billions in Western investment, leveraging the region's vast mineral wealth. The Great Lakes region, rich in tantalum, gold, cobalt, copper, and lithium, became the focus of a new vision for shared prosperity. The peace deal was framed as the first step toward economic transformation for both Rwanda and the DRC. The Washington Accord was more than a ceasefire. It represented a fundamental shift in the region's trajectory. It was a promise of economic opportunity, a beacon of hope illuminating the path towards prosperity for both Rwanda and the DRC, offering a chance to rebuild and thrive. The US initiative linked lasting peace not just to political stability, but also to tangible economic development, recognizing that sustainable peace requires a foundation of shared prosperity. The initiative aimed to attract foreign investment, encouraging international businesses to see the region not just as a source of resources, but as a partner in growth. This was to be achieved by responsibly developing the region's mineral-rich lands, ensuring that the benefits of extraction would flow back into the local economies. The DRC's reserves of cobalt, copper, and gold are not just valuable commodities, they are vital for global industries, powering everything from electric vehicles to consumer electronics. The US offered a path to integrate these resources into global supply chains, fostering transparency and responsible sourcing. This integration promised to transform the region's role in global supply chains, moving beyond simple extraction to value-added processing. The vision, a bold and ambitious one, was to transform conflict minerals into legitimate industries, creating a sustainable and ethical mining sector. This would lead to creating jobs, providing stable employment for local communities. It would also spur infrastructure development, building roads, bridges, and other essential services. For the DRC, peace meant harnessing resources responsibly, channeling them into national growth and development. For Rwanda, it meant security and stability, fostering an environment conducive to long-term prosperity. Investment could bring new mines, modernizing the mining sector. It could also establish processing facilities, adding value to raw materials within the region. And it could create transport routes, improving connectivity and facilitating trade. All of this would keep more profits in the region, empowering local communities and driving sustainable economic growth. But this prosperity hinged on strict adherence to the terms of the peace agreement, a commitment to peaceful resolution and mutual cooperation. Any return to conflict would not only shatter the peace, but also end the opportunity for economic advancement. The true success of the accord would be measured not just by the absence of war, but by tangible economic growth and improved livelihoods for the people of the DRC and Rwanda. It was about building a peaceful society, moving beyond conflict, and establishing a foundation for sustainable peace and prosperity for generations to come. Amid these diplomatic shifts, President Kagame offered a powerful perspective on Africa's future. He saw Trump's America First policies as a wake-up call for Africa to accelerate its own economic independence. Kagame urged Africans to take charge of their destiny, build capacity, and strengthen institutions without waiting for external validation. His call was for a proactive, not reactive, Africa define your own problems, design your own solutions. He envisioned global partnerships based on mutual respect and interest, not dependency. For Kagame, self-reliance means negotiating from strength, ensuring partnerships truly benefit Africa. The Trump administration marked a clear shift, a distinct departure from previous strategies in U.S. policy toward Africa, signaling a new era in how the United States engaged with the continent. This shift moved from aid to commerce, emphasizing trade relationships and business ventures. Traditional aid was reduced, with a critical eye cast upon its long-term effectiveness. It was replaced by a focus on trade, encouraging the exchange of goods and services, and investment, aiming to stimulate economic growth and create jobs. This was seen as the path to mutual prosperity, fostering sustainable development for both the US and African nations. The new strategy aimed to move beyond, transcending conventional approaches to international development, donor-recipient dynamics, seeking to establish a more equitable and reciprocal relationship. It emphasized economic partnership, promoting collaboration and shared benefits. US diplomats were now evaluated, their performance measured by a new set of metrics. On the commercial deals they brokered, incentivizing them to facilitate trade and investment. This transformed them into deal makers, actively pursuing opportunities for American companies. They became advocates for American businesses, working to expand their presence in African markets. High-level meetings with African leaders, diplomatic engagements at the highest levels, centered on advancing economic opportunities, exploring avenues for mutual growth and prosperity, not just aid, but sustainable economic partnerships. The goal, the primary objective of this new approach, was to identify business deals, pinpointing specific opportunities for collaboration, benefiting both US companies and African economies, creating a win-win scenario for all parties involved. While many welcomed this dignified approach, seeing it as a step towards greater self-reliance, concerns arose about the impact, particularly regarding the potential consequences on health and education programs, raising questions about the future of these vital services. America's role was redefined, shifting away from traditional forms of assistance, not as a patron, no longer acting solely as a provider of aid, but as a strategic commercial partner, engaging in mutually beneficial economic activities. This transactional approach, this emphasis on business dealings, promised economic benefits, holding the potential for significant financial gains, but also prioritized business interests in US policy, placing commercial considerations at the forefront. The pivot from aid to commerce, this fundamental change in strategy, fundamentally reshaped US-Africa relations, altering the dynamics of their interactions on the global stage. Despite the optimism, the Washington Accord faced skepticism. Critics argued the deal served US geopolitical and economic interests, not just African peace. The concerned US companies would gain control over vital minerals, perpetuating resource exploitation. Some saw African leaders' participation as a symbolic concession of autonomy. While investment might benefit Rwanda and the DRC, power dynamics remained skewed toward the US. The accord was seen as a tool to secure American access to resources, raising fears of a new dependency. The language was partnership, but critics warned of a risk of neocolonialism. Another criticism focused on Trump's personal motivations. Some saw the peace deal as a bid for a Nobel Peace Prize. The Oval Office meeting and branding of the accord were viewed as a public relations campaign. Critics feared this could lead to a superficial peace, ignoring deep-rooted issues. There were concerns that US interest might fade once political goals were met, risking renewed conflict. The deal was also seen as part of US-China rivalry for influence in Africa, with control over mineral supply chains at stake. For some, the peace was a byproduct of great power competition, with African nations as the chessboard. This raised questions about whether the US was an honest broker or a strategic actor pursuing its own interests. Despite criticism, Kagame publicly expressed gratitude for US mediation. He acknowledged America's role in bringing parties to the table, but made clear that ultimate responsibility lay with Rwanda and the DRC. By thanking the US while absolving it of blame, Kagame reasserted African agency. He insisted that while foreign partners can help, only Africans can secure lasting peace. Kagame warned that Rwanda's commitment was not unconditional. If the DRC reneged, Rwanda would respond as before. This blend of gratitude and realism defined Kagame's approach: accept help, but never outsource responsibility. His stance reflected the region's history of fragile peace deals and the need for African ownership. Ultimately, Kagame balanced diplomacy with self-interest, reinforcing that African problems require African resolve. Kagame's warning to Trump about respecting African sovereignty echoes far beyond the Washington Accord. It signals a continent ready to engage as an equal, demanding partnerships based on respect, not dependency. Rwanda's recovery from genocide stands as proof of what African leadership can achieve. Kagame's call for self-reliance is backed by Rwanda's transformation, making his message especially powerful. Across the global south, nations are asserting sovereignty and seeking diverse partnerships. Kagame's stance taps into a global movement for a more just international order. The legacy of this episode may be the conversation it sparked about sovereignty and partnership. Kagame's warning and call for self-reliance mark a pivotal moment. Africa is determined to define its own destiny.
As reactions continue to pour in from across the continent, one thing is clear. Africa is demanding respect, sovereignty, and accountability.
But it does. It has
Was this just a diplomatic misstep or a deeper sign of shifting global alliances? We'll be watching closely. If you found this story important, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real, unfiltered African news. This is Talk of Africa 360,
Six of the world's 10
telling the
fastest
stories that
growing
matter.
economies are in Africa.